Okay.
So,
And hi, Seena. So Seena
Hello.
is new to me also, and she's been introduced by Hema. So I'll ask Hema to introduce her to the group. So Hema, over to you.
so there are so many ills people talk about when you say social media. There are, I admit. But then there are some, sparkling pearls that drop into your lap sometimes because of that. I have reconnected with some of my childhood friends through Facebook and have met some remarkable people on it. And one such person is Seena. I guess I felt like kindred spirit towards her because we are both Bombayas, and I would see her post where she mentions Bombay. And then, of course, her paintings, attracted me. Also, the fact that she's a medico, she's a psychiatrist and she
And a
studied in
Malayali.
Bombay. I know Malayali. So multiple strings kind of brought us through across the web. I have not met her. Today we spoke on the phone actually, but we have chatted. And then her recent painting was actually, mind. So then and we have been doing quite a few segments on art. So then I asked her, can you, speak about it? Because I have seen some of her writing, which she takes a character and then she analyzes them from the eyes of a psychiatrist. I think Kafka was the last one that I heard, Franz Kafka. So I was thinking that she will be, and I opened this forum to her. Please come and talk to us on one of our lit club meetings. And I expected her to do the same, as in talk as a psychiatrist, but she chose to talk as an artist. It's a free flow, this is what she chooses, this is what she gets. So, so I give the floor over to Seena. Seena Devaki.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity, Shibu and Hema and all the others who have taken their time to join me today. Let me start off because we'll get some time at the end for discussion, won't we? Where's the
Absolutely,
presentation on? Yeah, there it is. So that's a corny title, Art Attack. So there you go. And that's me. That's an embroidery of my mother. I lost my mother when she was 55 years old, her age, 55. And now I'm 55. This was an embroidery which I did. You can see it here. Can you see it? So this embroidery, it's a cross stitch, monochrome cross stitch, 28 colors, 17,000 stitches. It took me around 6 months. This was a tribute to my mother. So let me start off with this. I work as a child psychiatrist. A brief introduction. I work as a child psychiatrist in the UK and now. I originally hail from Thrissur, but born and bred in Mumbai. Now, that's a copy of a Hussein, an MF Hussein. The original is in oils. I have done it in pastels. I'll let you read that bit, which I've written there. When I say sharing a minuscule, it is actually a minuscule. It is the tip of the iceberg because there's so much. I've just picked up a few just to put forth a few points of mine. Now, when I did my mother's cross stitch, this was the biggest piece of work I had done because it was 6 months. It took me 6 months. But in the background, you can see a Mother Mary, baby Jesus, and a lamb, can't you? Now that took me 5 years. I started it in 2015 and I finished it last year in 2020. Now it's framed and up on the wall. It's out of the way. And I keep telling my son, that's the only legacy I've got to give you in a way. It's a value legacy rather than a financial legacy. And I would like my great grandchildren to say, oh, my great grandmother did that. It really took a lot of time, 5 years. It's no mean task. I work full time, so I can't sit doing this from morning to evening. It was a few threads every day with music in a repeat loop in the background. So it's very nice when you put music in repeat loop, all your concentration goes into one single area. There's a rhythm in your mind because it's in repeat loop. So if you look at songs as a proxy measure, more than 5,000 to 6,000 songs have gone into this work. Now this is black background, and any of you, I don't know whether you guys do cross stitch, but if any of you do cross stitch, you have to know that it's quite difficult to do it on a black background with monochrome. If this was multicolored, like red and blue and green and everything, it would have been easier, but it's monochrome, 67 colors and 67,000 stitches. So this work, I did not have specs when I started this work, and now I've got spectacles. So you can imagine it really was taxing. Many people call this a creative activity, but for me, I don't see this as a creative activity, because you get the, the graph, and then you've got to decode the graph, but it does need grit, determination, and patience and perseverance. So as my son says, that this is not a measure of your creativity, but this is a measure or a testimony of your grit, determination, and perseverance. I've started something, I got to finish it. When I started it off, I did not know what I was signing up for. I had bitten off more than I could chew. It was something, when I began it, I did not even know, will I ever finish this? I don't know, but it's completed and I'm pleased about it. Yeah. And I've put that Oscar Wilde quote there, all art is quite useless. Even he could not declare art as utterly useless. So I do find art as serving many functions. Though it's fashionable these days to say art is of no use to the world and whatever, I think it serves many functions, different functions for different people. It redeems, consoles, cajoles, rejuvenates, whatever, reclaims, whatever. So that's that. This was a portraiture I did ages ago in 1984, when I was in 12th standard. And portraiture came easily to me. This is a charcoal painting I have done, charcoal portraiture, and it came easily to me. I did not have to draw those grids or squares or anything to get the proportion right. It sounds boastful, but it is true. And I would rather, this narrative of mine may come across as pompous because I've chosen blatant honesty as opposed to false modesty. So there are a series of these portraits which I've done. I've just put a sample here, one of them. And you can see that, and I used to think, is it a mathematical function, a portraiture? Because I was good at mathematics. I never got less than 100 in mathematics. So is this a mathematical function? How do I get it like accurate proportions? It surprised me, but then I don't think it's a mathematical function. If it was so, even Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Einstein would have been portrait artists or painters, wouldn't they? So I don't think it's a mathematical function. But anyway, so that's again from the same cohort of portraiture which I did. It's a charcoal portrait, but the Bob Marley one is a recent one. So you can see there's a sort of a shift in the kind of work which I do. You'll get it as we go along. Now that's my first oil painting. Again, this was done while I was an adolescent. I was in 12th standard or first year MBBS or something. And there is a quote at the back of the painting. I've written a quote, and the quote is this one: "Remember me as a forest rose, born to blush and bloom unseen." And this was my first gift to my husband, Praveen. This is my first painting. I live in Sheffield, in England, and I live in the border of the Peak District. And the Peak District is extraordinarily beautiful and scenic, very beautiful. And the road which takes us to Manchester, there's some disturbance in the background. Please, can you mute it, please? There's some disturbance in the background. Shibu, are you able to mute other people?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Okay. Yeah, please. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah. So this was my first acrylic. I live in England, in Sheffield, and the Snake Pass, it's called the Snake Pass because it's a twisting, winding route to Manchester. And all these years, I've been here 25 years, and I've never got tired of this route. It's extremely beautiful, and it keeps changing in beauty or in its moods, like a temperamental person. In winter, it looks different. In autumn, it looks different. This is an autumnal photograph. I would call this sort of an original because I've not painted from a painting. I've painted from a photograph which I took. So in a way, it's mine. But even then, it's not something which has come from inside my head. It's a painting of a photograph. So this is my first acrylic of a painting from the Peak District. This is the first alcohol ink painting. Now, Rani pink or shocking pink is not my color. I go for muted colors generally, but I was quite pleased with how it turned out. Now, this is my first wall painting. I've done it on a wall. One of my friends who lives locally, Deborah, she asked me to paint on her wall a unicorn for her granddaughter Amelia for her granddaughter's birthday. And the theme of the party was a unicorn themed party. Whoever it is, please would you mute your wave? It's
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Joined.
So sorry,
he just joined. They were unmuted. Oh.
Yeah. So this was the first wall painting which I did for Deborah. She's a friend of mine who lives locally on my street, and it was for her granddaughter's birthday. The party was a themed party, a unicorn themed party. She's a 6-year-old girl, Amelia, and she wanted this unicorn on the wall. She called me up and said, Seena, will you draw a unicorn on my wall? And I thought, will I be able to pull it off on the wall? I've never done this before. But it worked because the way I want to say, encouraged myself is saying, if I can do it on canvas, why can't I do it on the wall? I had to climb on a table, climb on a chair and do it because the scale, you can't get the scale in this picture, but it's from floor to, it's in the next picture where I'm putting a little pebble as an eye, sticking a pebble as an eye for the unicorn that you get the scale. It's from floor to ceiling. And it looks nicer now because Deborah, who's my friend, has put some sparkle and sparkly bits here and there in the sky and some stars in the sky. So it looks nicer. So this is my first wall painting. This is my first sculpture. This is the first decoupage I did. It's there. It's a coffee table. It's a nice coffee table gone. Now, decoupaging is not a big deal. You just cut pieces of paper and stick it with glue and then varnish it. You varnish it in order to give it a nice sheen, plus to protect it from spillage, from coffee or tea spillage. So this is the first decoupage I did. At the end of the talk, I can show you the coffee table. It's right up there. And you can see some familiar faces. There's Geeta Dutt and Madhavi Mukherjee and Deepthi Naval and Nandita Das and whoever, Shimborska and Marina Svetayeva and whoever. A few of the ladies I like. So I took the pictures from the internet, colored pictures, desaturated it, made it black and white, printed it out on the ordinary home printer, cut it, pasted it with PVA glue, and then varnished it. So it's an easy thing to do. You can do it on anything practically, vases, furniture, boxes, whatever. I've even done a small one for my son. It's a piggy bank, which I decoupaged. He's a perfect geeky character. And he reads all these manga comics, these Japanese manga comics. So this is a character from a Japanese manga comic, which I've taken and decoupaged his piggy bank. He's not a child anymore. He's 27 years old. He's an adult and he works as an accountant, but this was done ages ago, this decoupaging of the piggy bank. So what I'm trying to, this is my first decoupage, the coffee table, but I've done other decoupages too of little boxes. And you can personalize it. You can put meaning into it by picking what you want to stick on. Now I stuck on these, but you can have film posters like Sholay poster or classic books like whichever, Catcher in the Rye or whichever books you like, Penguin books. You can take the book covers and then decoupage with book covers or decoupage with film posters like Sholay or whatever. So that's decoupage. This is, you may recognize this painting. Many of you may have seen this painting. It is the painting by the 17th century Dutch artist Vermeer. But I have taken only a fraction of it. I've not done the whole. It's the Milkmaid, but I've taken only a small fraction and I've done it in pastel and the original is in oil. Now, I feel that sometimes fragments seem to make my statement as well as or better than the whole could. Now, in the next one, you'll see it more clearly. Now, this bit is done by me, the pencil one, and that is by Kathy Kollwitz, the German artist. So the Kathy Kollwitz painting on that side, on the right side, is woman with a dead child. and I have done only the dead child and the hands. So I just picked that bit up and interpreted it in a different way and did that bit. So what I'm trying to say in this slide is sometimes a fragment can speak just as well as the whole. I think it was Tagore who said that a crescent moon is a fragment awaiting perfection, but I think a crescent moon is perfect in itself. Now this I put because this is again a pastel which I did recently. It reminded me of my granddaughter. Granddaughter in the sense, my son doesn't have children, but I keep collecting grandchildren and children from everywhere. So this is my nephew's daughter. She reminded me of, and she calls me Amma, means grandmother. So that's why I painted this. Even if I copy other people's paintings, sometimes I choose paintings which somewhere resonates with me. Otherwise, I can't put my heart into it, even if it's a copy. So there was a time when I believed an artist had to be unhinged, traumatized, anarchic, and bohemian. But I've come to realize that an artist can be a well-adjusted, sentient being working in clarity in a collectivist society. Now that's a copy of a Picasso. Even when I copy, you may notice I've done lots of copies of Picasso, but I haven't copied his Cubist works. I like his blue period. So it has to connect with me somewhere, even if I have to copy. And this statement or quote by Dali, who's another surrealist painter, not a Cubist painter like Picasso, this quote by him, those who do not want to imitate anything, produce nothing, offers me some consolation because I shamelessly copy. I have had no formal training in art. I'm a medic by profession and qualification. I've had no formal training and it's self-taught. I've got to make mistakes and learn. I need to find how a medium behaves on paper or canvas. I allow it to lead the way, and I learn through errors. There are some happy accidents which happen, and sometimes I've got to throw the piece of work which I've done. But imitation, this statement offers me some consolation that okay, it's fine to imitate, otherwise you produce nothing. Because I've shamelessly imitated or copied many famous artists, and that's my way of learning, copying the masters. Now this again reminded me of my granddaughters, hence I painted this. It's a pastel. The quote which I've put, it's not a quote. What I've said there is, I see myself as a reasonably skilled craftsman, but will not bestow myself the title of an artist. The reason I say this is because I've not got my signature style yet. I have not got a voice yet. I've not found my voice yet. I have not, there is nothing I have said which is mine yet. So how can I call myself an artist? So that's the reason why I don't bestow myself the title of an artist. If you see, even if you hide the signature of a Picasso painting, I will recognize a Picasso. If you hide the signature of a Vermeer painting, I'll recognize a Vermeer. I can recognize a Monet. I can recognize a Vincent anywhere or a Gauguin anywhere. So what I'm saying is, where is me in all my work? There is no me. There's no self of mine which is seen anywhere. I can be a good Cathay Kollwitz one day, and I can be a good Vincent another day, and I can be a good Gauguin one day. I can copy, but where is me in all this? So that's the reason why I think I'm an okay craftsman, but I still need to find my voice. Now Rangoli, we all know what a Rangoli is. Now the geometrical one on the side there, the geometrical one is not mine. I found it on Google. That black and white one, which you see, the monochrome one, the Ajanta Ellora kind of sculpture, that is mine. That I did. At the bottom of the picture, you can see a Kumari Seena in, if you look closely, you will see Kumari Seena in Hindi. This was done when I was in 10th standard and I bagged a prize for it. Now, this was one Rangoli there which stood apart from all the Rangolis, because Rangoli is usually that geometrical kind, isn't it? I don't know what I was thinking. I don't think it was even an active, I don't know why I went and did this, but I did this. So somehow when I look back, I realized that I was pushing boundaries even then. I was doing something which was not out of the ordinary, and I was thinking beyond the box, outside the box. So that was something I did in 10th standard, that black and white Rangoli. The function of the overwhelming majority of one's art is to help create the fraction that soars. even the failed pieces are essential. That I feel is something I have learned in my journey in art, that even the failed pieces are essential in order to get the one which you really like, or the one which you want to keep hold of and not rip or put in the trash can. And as I mentioned earlier, I've had no formal training in art, and because I've had no formal training in art, I have had to learn by trial and error. So obviously there will be failed pieces of work. Nowadays you have YouTube videos, and you can go through YouTube videos and learn a few techniques and stuff from some hacks from YouTube videos. So I do sometimes rely on YouTube videos to learn how a medium works, or which medium needs to go on which surface, and etc, etc. That's a Macau, which I painted for my sister. This is a quote by an artist called Wayne Theobald. Art is not delivered like the morning paper. It has to be stolen from Mount Olympus. I put this quote simply because it resonates with me. It's a active process, art. It's not a passive process. It's not going to come on our lap. It's not going to fall on our lap. You need to work at it. And it's a constant what to say, dialogue with your own self in order to find out what is it that you want to say on paper. I've not reached there. Okay, I'm still in that preamble stage, or that initial stage where the churning is happening, but the butter is not formed. The churning is happening, so I'm in that churning stage. Now, ailurophilia, that's my son. He's an ailurophiliac. Ailurophiliac is a cat lover. He's the most ardent and the most, biggest cat fan I have come across. And from the time I can remember, he's asked me to buy a cat for him. He wanted a cat as a pet. I love animals, don't get me wrong. I love cats and dogs and birds and all animals. But I did not have the time. I did not want one extra added responsibility. And he used to keep telling me, oh, cats are no work at all. They're self-sufficient. They're self-centered. You don't need to take them out for a walk. But every time he asked me for a cat, I drew him a cat. So his wall is full of cat pictures, and that's a cat embroidery. It's a cross stitch which I did. So his wall is full of cat pictures and cat embroideries and all sorts, but I've not purchased a cat. I've resisted it just because of lack of time. Now, what do I have a subject? The reason I put this is for an onlooker. I've done lots of mother and babies and mother and child and mother and babies. So for an onlooker who looks at my art, they may see that as the predominant subject which I paint. But I'm not sure. I think it's a passing phase. The reason I ask myself this question is, if you look at Monet, he had his water lilies, and Cézanne had his apples, and Vincent had his sunflowers, and Georgia O'Keeffe had her large scale flowers. So people had their pet subject. Do I have a subject? Do I have a medium? Do I have a style? I don't think I've reached there, because if you look at my presentation, you'll see that I've dabbled in oil, watercolor, alcohol inks, charcoal, pencil, name it, all the medium I've tried, all the styles I've tried, realistic, loose, stylized, figurative, impressionistic, all styles. So where am I heading? Which is going to be my predominant style? I don't know. That's O.V. Vijayan. Most of you may know he's a very famous Kerala writer, renowned writer for Kasakinda Itihasam. And Kasakinda Itihasam is a cult novel. It sort of cleaved literature into pre-Kazakh and post-Kazakh. So O.V. Vijayan is a legend, and Kasakinda Itihasam is a legend. This you can call my original, because it's a dry point etch I have made of O.V. Vijayan, and this is mine. It's not a copy of a copy or anything. It's mine. So this is a dry point etching. It's not a sketching. It's an etching. And this is also etch of Kafka. But if you look at it, this one, can you see the cursor moving? This one is the cursor moving. This is a dry point etch, and this is on copper plate. This is a copper plate etch of a younger Kafka. So these are two different kinds of etches with two different kinds of methods. One is a dry point etch on perspex, and the other is a copper plate etch of Kafka. And now, some of the quotes don't go with the paintings. Okay, I've just used it as garnish. When you present food on the table, you garnish it with coriander leaves, kothmir and everything. So it's like garnish, some of the quotes. I connect with the quote. It resonates with me. So I've put the quote with the painting, but they don't always go with the painting. So this painting is an acrylic painting of an Edvard Munch. It's an Edvard Munch who's a Norwegian artist. The Scream is the most famous Munch picture. If you talk of Monk, the first thing which comes to mind is the Scream, but this is his landscape which I copied. And this is another landscape that's not of Monk. It's a landscape I found somewhere. You can see the difference. One is so still. The Monkian one, the Edvard Munch one, is so still. There's not one movement in it, and the other one has got so much movement and so much energy. You can feel the wind blowing in the trees. So these are quick acrylics which were done like 1 or 2 hours or a couple of hours, that kind of a thing. And that is a Szymborska quote, which I like, which I have put there. Wings are freedom only when opened in flight. On one's back, they are heavyweight. No, sorry, I'm wrong. It's not Szymborska, it's Marina Tsvetaeva, the poet. Now, these are again acrylic paintings, very quick ones, slapdash ones, which are done. Now that's a Tarkovsky quote. I've put this because these are monoprints which I did. These are original, they are mine. I made a series of monoprints with that man as the cutout. Lots of monoprints, out of which the one in red was chosen by a very dear friend of mine to put on his book as a book cover, the red one. So that's come out as a book cover. And I quite agree with Tarkovsky that our art is born out of an ill-designed world. If the world was completely at harmony, where would art have come from? But then that's in contradiction with what I talked about, artists being sentient people living in clarity in society. Maybe not. This is a recent landscape which I did. I'm not greatly pleased by it. It's average. But I quite like the white grass, because grass is usually green, and the dry grass and the light in this. And hence I did this landscape. And I put a quote from The Little Prince, which I like. What makes the desert beautiful, said the little prince, is that somewhere it hides a well. So that's the this is again a pastel. You may think that pastel is my favorite medium, but I would say no, pastel is not my favorite medium. I think I like oils and acrylics more. But the reason I use pastels is because the entry and the exit is quick. You just pick up a chalk, do a bit of it, and then you get called out for something else and you go, and then you can come back into it and get into it again. So the entry and exit is easier rather than with brushes and water and all those kind of things. If it's acrylic or oil, I need to really ring fence my time and keep it aside for doing it. I can't go in and out of it. Whereas here I can go in and out of it. So I think perhaps the reason I have chosen pastels a lot of the time is simply because I can enter into it and exit quickly, and because of time constraints. Now that is just the quote which I have put is just 2 lines of a long poem by Szymborska. I love these 2 lines. That's the reason why I put this. I exist in multitudes. I think I do. I have many facets to myself. It's not that it's an incoherent self, but there are many facets to this self. It's a coherent self, but there are many facets to it. So that's the reason I put this quote by Walt Whitman, that I exist in multitudes. Now, if you see the 2 live drawings, one is in a very loose, abstracty kind of style, the one in charcoal, and the one in pencil is a very realistic kind of style. So I move from very stringent, realistic style to loose kind of work. Now, these are some pastels which I did recently. And I've put a Barack Obama quote there because it's sort of become my mission statement. The future rewards those who press on. I don't have time to feel sorry for myself. I don't have time to complain. I'm just going to press on. I think that's how my father used to be. And I think it's from him I get this kind of this grit, or to keep moving on. Whatever happens, I'm not going to accept defeat. I've got to just persevere and keep going. That is Rosa Luxemburg, and that is Catherine Mansfield. Both of these are dry point etches. They are not sketches, they are not charcoal, they are not pencil, they are dry point etches on perspex. The quote which I've used in this is an Ezra Pound. Ezra Pound is an American writer. It's an Ezra Pound quote, which says to give an artist leisure is to take part in his creation. Well, I put this just to show that I have been caught up in life for all these years. After 12th standard, after doing those little, cohort of portraiture, my art went dormant for years and years and years. I was caught up in being a mother, a wife, a daughter-in-law, everything, a professional. So time was a huge constraint. So art became dormant for many years. It's only recently that I picked it up back again, and I'm trying to revive it. And I've never had the luxury of time, and I have never had anybody freeing me up from my mundane responsibilities to say, oh, get on with life and you become an artist. So that luxury has never had, I have never had. And if I do art, it's in little pockets of available time here and there, like little fillers, and that's not enough. If you look at Lucian Freud's benefit supervisor sleeping, which went at Sotheby's auction for the highest amount, he took 18 months to paint that painting. 18 months he was at it. 18 months on one painting. So I don't have that kind of luxury. I get little pockets of time here and there, and I stretch myself and I do it. So I have had nobody taking part in my creation by freeing up my time. This is a Flaubert quote which I've put. Gustave Flaubert, famous for Madame Bovary, the 17th century French writer. Be regular and orderly in your life, so you may be violent and original in your work. I put this because it connected with me. I'm quite an orderly person. I'm not anancastic or completely OCD or over the top, but I'm generally a regular, neat, organized person. So I think even if you look at my earlier works, I'm quite stringent in my work. It's very, very perfect, my portraiture and everything. And I'm trying to break away from that and become more loose in my work. This is a recent work. Now, to see a cow which is blue and pink and orange, this is not realistic work. This sort of looks very Fauvist in a way, a lot of very colorful and Fauvist. So I'm trying to break away from slavish adherence to rules and trying to sort of be different from what my original nature dictates. It is just experimental. I may come back to it. I may come back a full circle into being what I'm originally meant to be. I don't know, but I need to push my boundaries in order to find my comfort zone or to find where I want to go. So this is a recent work which I did. And that's a self-portrait of mine. So that's again on a copper plate. At the age of 6, I wanted to be a cook. At 7, I wanted to be Napoleon. My ambition stopped growing once I became Dali. That's a Salvador Dali quote. And it somehow resonates with me because that's what I want to be, the best Seena I'm capable of being. So for me, art is partly for emotional sustenance, because I'm generally a person with solitary hobbies, gardening, reading, films, stitching, embroidery, knitting, all sort of solitary light related hobbies. And my hobbies sustain me. And when I talk about art and I do art, for me, it's about becoming, it's a process of self-discovery and self-exploration, and to become the best Seena I'm capable of being. So in this, the last line states, my ambition stopped growing once I became Dali. So I think that's what art is for me, to become the best Seena I'm capable of being. So that's the last slide. I don't know how much time I took. I have no idea of how much time I took.
Wow, Seena, fantastic, lovely, very nice. I really loved how you took us through your journey in art. Really. And I'm sure, like you said, you were describing how the butter is going to be churned, and the butter is almost rising up to the top now.
And
really
I've
lovely.
got my little book here of all my art, lots of
Wow.
I have sort of taken photographs and made it into a little sort of portfolio. So there's so much in here, but that was just the tip of the iceberg.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
You know, Seema, you started off by saying you won't be falsely modest. I like that quote of yours. But you have every reason to be extremely proud of what you're doing. I can tell you, I used to do in childhood a few sketches myself, but those days parents would give you a picture of God and ask you to do that, right? And again, no business of those quadrants and squares. Hearing you and watching this for the last half an hour, it took, there were points when you irritated the hell out of me. But the fact is, you inspired me to go back to the drawing board. Thank you.
Why did I irritate you?
There were so many things that you shared that I had no clue about. You know, all those artists, those writers, those people. I was wondering what the hell. Every time I have to go back to Google and check who's this, who's this, who's this.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But you have inspired me to go back to the drawing board. So thank you for that.
Please do.
Fantastic. I like the way that you exhibited your multi-dimensional personality, not only in the forms of art that you do, but, you know, a medico, then a lot of time for family, then a lot of quotes. Unless you read, you would not remember and collect all this to connect to what you do. And psychiatry on one side and then art. It's unbelievable that one person could, you know, have all of this around and yet be something of core, which you say you are seen of yourself.
Hey, Benny, you know, it is Steve Jobs who actually said that it is in the intersection of art and technology lies creativity. So as a technology master, you would possibly understand this, that you become an artist and we're going to have creativity flowing out.
In Arbors.
No, but he boasted the best designs, didn't he, Steve Jobs? So that was creative. Yeah.
But even
I
computers,
didn't get your name. The person who just now spoke to me. I didn't get both the people's names.
The big
First was
beard or the
Ravi.
smaller one?
You now who's talking? You.
My name is Binny.
Binny. Hello, Binny. And you?
Me, I am Ravi.
And there's a lady next to you.
She's on the other side of the wall, as you can see. So.
Rohini.
Hello, Rohini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are from Bombay too.
Okay. I was born and bred in Mumbai, in Ghatkopar. My sister is in Khar now. Lost both my parents. I've been here in the UK for 25 years now.
Rohini collects a lot of art, and she's picked up these paintings of artists in their young days. And now she can boast of them being $1 million paintings and things like that.
and her house key remains with me when she's gone back to Mumbai.
No. What she resonated with me was cross stitch.
That was
cross
beautiful.
stitch.
Yeah.
I love cross stitch, and I've done a fair bit of it myself.
I can show you the one here. Can you see?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
one's
that's
really
the one
lovely.
you talked about. Yeah.
That's the one.
I loved that picture of the cat, you know, hanging there. That was like so cute.
Actually, today we were trying to put the hang in there picture in the brochure, but it didn't fit in. Good thing we didn't, because anyway she showed it anyways. Our son, we are also a cat family, and my son Krishna is also a big cat lover. And because anyway, we got a cat, you know, since I can't draw cats, we got him a real one.
Okay.
But tell me, how does the art resonate with your profession of psychiatry? I'm a medical social worker by profession. So, you know, it kind of, I couldn't identify or maybe understand a lot of what you were saying. But is it to a kind of a respite from profession, the art? Do you look at it like that?
If that was, you could use it as a coping mechanism. Is that what you're saying? Because psychiatry can be quite taxing, because you're absorbing like a sponge, you're absorbing people's difficulties.
Yes.
So it can be quite taxing and mentally draining, you know. 9 to 5, when you come home, you're exhausted because you've absorbed, and there's only one of you. And there's only so much you can do. There are no clones of Seena. You know, I would have loved a few clones, but there is only one of me, and there's only 24 hours, and there's only so much you can do in 9 to 5. Yeah, so it can become draining. you can say that it's my coping mechanism, and other psychiatrists may have other coping mechanisms. Possible. I can see that.
No,
But,
I was just curious as to maybe is that you're very prolific in your paintings, your drawings, your art, your sketches. So the first thought that struck me was, yes, because I would find solace is the word in doing something with my hands, you know, creating something and looking out for something beautiful.
Yeah, I'm an aesthete too. I'm a lover of beauty. I create beauty everywhere, and even paintings which I connect with are more of beautiful stuff or emotive in a sort of painful way, but not completely what to say, very dark. I don't like very dark paintings. I like prettiness and beauty. So so even the ones which I have copied, you can see that I look for those kind of things to copy.
Your emphasis on pastels.
Sorry?
Your emphasis on the pastel paintings, because they bring out life. To me, it says life, spring, hope, goodness, happiness.
Yeah, you have touched a chord somewhere. It could be psychiatry. Because I do child and adolescent psychiatry and I work with children and mothers, that may be the reason I'm doing so many of mother and child paintings. Possibly. I've not delved into my subconscious. It is possible. Because the subject I gravitate towards is mother and child a lot of the time, but I still don't want to agree when people ask, is that your subject? I say, no, I don't think so. I think it's a passing phase. I think I'm just pushing. I'm going in all possible directions to find which way I want to go.
The sculpture that you showed us, no, the one single sculpture, was it with the terracotta mold, and what was the material you used?
No, it is easy. I don't want you to get mighty impressed by it. It was easy to make. You get the head. So the head has not been sculpted by me. So I don't want you to get impressed. The head you get as a mold, but the rest of it you create. So the wrapping and the costume and the drapes and everything I created. And then you paint a metallic paint. I won't go into it. It's not me. So I did it once, went there, been there, done that, put it out of the way. It's not me. So similarly, etching, I have done etching, but the process is so laborious between me and the product that I don't want to be an etcher. I don't see myself etching, but I see myself becoming an oil painter or an acrylic painter. Pastels, as I mentioned, it's because it's easy to enter and exit. And my son says I'm not a proper doctor because I'm a psychiatrist. So similarly, I think, pastel, is it proper painting if it's done with chalks? Shouldn't it be with paint? So it's with chalks, you know, when you see something, even if it's big scale, if you see something which is done with chalk, you somehow put it on a lower level compared to an oil painting or an acrylic painting. And
that is quite unfair.
Sorry,
that is quite unfair because it's to do with the proportions, the color, the mixture, the shapes that come out of it.
But if you look at history, if you look at the masters from the past, how many people have pastel paintings, you tell me? Most of them are oils or
that's
acrylic.
Because everybody's biased against it. World at large.
Possibly. I have started doing pastels and it came very easy to me, pastels, but I don't use a fixative. And the problem with a pastel is because if you don't use a fixative, purists, people who are purists, don't use a fixative. So big artists have told me to not use a fixative. So because I don't use a fixative, if you touch it, it can smudge, you know. It's not like an oil painting. Oil painting won't smudge. You can touch it and nothing will happen. But pastel, unless it's behind the glass, it will smudge. So somehow there is a sort of a non-permanency in pastels. I'll keep doing pastels because I recently purchased another box of pastels. So I need to get my money's worth from the pastels. So I'll continue to do, but I'm heading towards oils and acrylics in future. I think that will be
the last landscape that you showed. What was the medium you hadn't mentioned?
Pastel. I think all my recent works, which you have been seeing on Facebook, Hema is pastels. All my
the cow was also pretty recent.
No. Cow was acrylic.
Yeah,
cow
that was
I loved.
Beautiful.
I loved it because it's very, very colorful, isn't it?
And since and since you are so much into language and quotes and poem, you should start naming them. The cow painting should have a name.
Okay. Yeah. I want to ask you, how much time did I take? Because I had not practiced this presentation. I did it this morning. How much time? I was given 40 minutes. How much time did I take?
35.
Reasonable.
Yeah, around 35. Yeah, perfect. You were great.
So Seena said, you said you picked this up after a long gap after your 12th standard, right?
Yeah.
How much of this is practice to get to where you really want to be in that state of perfection? How much you just picked it up and you could hit the ground running?
Yeah. It sounds boastful, but I think it's innate. I don't have to be arrogant about it. I just have to be grateful to nature or to luck or to God or to whatever for having given me that gift. So I'm grateful for that gift. I'm not arrogant about that gift, and I need to bring out the best, because otherwise I'll be doing a disservice to myself. So I hit the ground running, which is true. Of course, a few hiccups are there when you're trying to learn the medium. You're trying to learn what the medium does. So that is there. But I think it's there. It's innate. The skill is there innate. For me, it's not the skill which bothers me. It's the questions in my head as to what should I be doing with this? What's my voice? What do I want to tell the world? What do I want to put on the canvas? What is it which is coming from inside me? I don't want to be continuously doing Picasso's and Cathay Colwitz's and Vincent van Gogh's copying. I like a painting and I think, oh, I'll copy that because I like it. I connect with it. For some reason, I connect with it. So either I continue to keep copying the ones which I connect with, or bring something of my own from inside me. So that's my, current dilemma or questions, or I'm at that threshold, like I said earlier, I've done the churning, but the butter has to come out now. The churning process is happening. So that's what I've shared just now. All the different media, you must have seen different medium, different styles. I could have grouped this into medium, or subject, or past and present, chronologically, or according to style, realistic, figurative, impressionistic. But I've just put a mixture like a bhel puri in my presentation. I could have grouped it either as chronology, time-wise, or according to charcoal, pencil, etching, sketching, acrylic, according to medium, or according to styles, because I've dabbled in so many styles, so many mediums, so many subjects. Yeah.
Dev, you wanted to ask something? Dev, can you hear?
He's muted.
Dave was asking, or he's put a chat question.
I can't hear you, Dev.
There's Shibu here.
No, he's muted.
So Dave's
How
chat
do you
is this.
press it here?
What do you want?
No, how do you operate? Or just tap it?
Shibu, you are also muted. Shibu was reading the Dev's question.
Who's talking about R.D. Lang?
No, that's what Dave was asking. If you've used any quote by the psychiatrist R.D. Liang in conjunction with any painting.
No, I
The
haven't
way you've
used,
used
but
quotes by
I recently saw a film, Mad to be Normal, of R.D. Lang. It's a biopicture. It was a very good biopicture on R.D. Lang. He was an anti-psychiatrist who created the anti-psychiatry movement. He said that insanity is a escape from insanity is a sane escape from an insane world. Something like that.
It's a sane escape from an insane world. Wow.
Yes.
You turned the whole thing upside down.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
So we are all insane.
Yeah, no, I haven't
The flip
used,
side.
answering Dave, I haven't used any of R.D. Lang's quotes, but I recently saw a film, I think on Netflix or Amazon Prime, but do watch a biopicture on him, Mad to be Normal.
Geeta, any questions, comments? Since you are one of the people who is interested in art, one of community dwellers. Geet, Geet is not that, huh? Geet Shesha? Shibu?
Yeah, it is her only,
It is.
Geeta Shishandri.
Okay. And Suresh, no, nothing to say since this is not business.
No. I thought it's not that
I can't see this person. Oh, this is Suresh. Hello.
Yeah, because last time all the business, there are a lot of very accomplished businessmen, as in, corporate head honchos in our group. And my biggest gripe is that, it will go on to the, they'll be having a board meeting here in the lit club. So So last time when they went, it went that route, I was like, especially Suresh, I was like, come back to
when you have wise gurus like Mr. Muthuraman, you have to participate in that. No, I just had one question, Seena. You obviously were so very gifted and talented to begin with. I wonder why you chose to be a medico and not to be an artist. Was it parental pressure as always? Or?
Yeah, exactly. You're Suresh, are you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Suresh, that's right. I went on to JJ School of Art and got selected for architecture.
I'm not surprised.
And architecture was because at the time I had read Fountainhead by Ayn Rand and was very impressed by Howard Rourke, the protagonist in Fountainhead, and wanted to become an architect. So I went into JJ School of Art. It was a 3-step examination, a written exam, another exam, and then an interview. And I got architecture, but I got into medicine too, because of my grades. And my parents always, in India, you know how it is. In Kerala, you see only 2 professions. People see only engineering and medicine. So my parents wanted me to become a doctor because it's got more social status. So I went into medicine. I'm not regretting it because I love the subject which I'm doing, because somehow I'm a humanities person and I've come a full circle into humanities because I'm doing child and adolescent psychiatry, which is completely, see, when I went from medicine to psychiatry, I moved away from medicine. When I moved from psychiatry to child psychiatry, I moved away from psychiatry too, because I've come into sort of psychosocial. I like psychology, sociology, philosophy, literature. So it's more of humanities. So I've come into child psychiatry, which I have gradually moved away from medicine. So answering your question, Suresh, yes, it was parents who wanted me to become a medic, but they would have loved it if I had become a gynecologist or a pediatrician, because they don't think I'm a proper doctor because I'm a psychiatrist.
I totally,
so you might as well become
resonates.
an even more accomplished artist.
Yeah, it's like Emperor Nero's words, Emperor Nero said, what an artist the world has lost in me. So I feel that way. What an artist the world has lost in me. Sounds very boastful, doesn't it? But it is.
Yeah,
I love your spirit.
Same thing with all of us, actually. I mean, maybe not with Shibu, but I used to always say I want to be a journalist. I want to write. And like Seena said, it's either medicine or engineering. And since I was terrible at math, I never got 100%. I used to flunk in it half the time. So there was only one way left, which was medicine. So
my case was the same as yours, Hema. I wanted to be a journalist, but all my dad saw in a journalist is a guy with those Gandhi dress and the
the cloth bag.
Long bag covering for newspaper stories whenever a politician is in and around the town. And he would, there was a guy who was a journalist from our place. He would say, all you want to become is like Ashok. You would always keep taunting me on that. So that stopped my pursuit for journalism. But Seena, one
all
last,
my interests,
the most arts that we see, and we think of those artists, they're steeped in a lot of grief. You seem to be totally different, bubbly, vibrant, full of energy compared to normal artists. The image of, let's say, an M.F. Hussain in India and all those artists that we're talking, very serious faces, as if something has gone seriously wrong in their lives, and all the art that they put out there is an expression of that grief, which doesn't seem to be the case with you. You totally enjoying life and create masterpieces.
No, that is true, because I don't know whether you need that kind of pain to create art. Some people, they bring their torment out, don't they, on canvas. I'm not a tormented soul. I'm at peace with myself. I'm very much in harmony with myself. So sometimes I think, do I need to have that pain in order to put something on paper? Not necessarily.
You have said that in one of your slides. You can be level and balanced and do art.
Yeah, so maybe something different. My art will look different it will be qualitatively different from Vincent van Gogh's, because his torment and pain, his brushstrokes are so brief and so frenzied. His torment is seen in his brushstrokes, And he gained fame only posthumously after his death. He cut off his ear. He was depressed. He had tinnitus. He was hearing voices. So I'm not a tormented soul. So my work may be qualitatively different from his. So I don't know. Watch the
I
space.
wanted to, the portraiture you did of O.V. Vijayan is phenomenal. I just remembered that. When I saw that, I was thinking to myself, you have not only captured his face and his facial features, you have got his expression right. You know, O.V. Vijayan was a very brooding personality. In his later years, when he was living in Delhi, one of my cousin brothers was very closely associated with him. And his nephew is Ravi Shankar, the cartoonist.
Yeah.
So, and in one of his last books, my cousin brother Rajiv, he had helped him proofread it. And in fact, in his acknowledgement, he has acknowledged him. So that's when I first heard of O.V. Vijayan, because unfortunately growing up, I haven't been exposed to Malayalam literature all that much. I don't know. I'm pretty impressed by the way how you write and read Malayalam, having grown up in Bombay. I couldn't do that. And I read Kazakinde Itihasam very recently in a translation.
O.V. Vijayan has translated
he himself
from
has
Malayalam to
translated
English.
it. Yes. Thankfully, Malayalam has some really good literature, writers who are proficient in English and they translate their own work. Like Sadashivan translates his own poetry, and O.V. Vijayan's Kazakinde Itihasam is brilliant translation as well.
But the original, though he has done it himself, though he has translated himself, it's nowhere compared to the Malayalam.
I can totally understand. There is no way you can translate most vernaculars.
Are there other Malayalis in this group? In this group of
this is a Mallu group only.
No. This is predominantly Tambram. A bunch of them are all Tambrams, but they understand Malayalam, so it's okay.
So Rohini, Ravi, Suresh, Dev, they're all Malayalis.
Dev is a Malayali, but again a non-resident Malayali. Ro is a Maharashtrian. The rest are all Tambrams.
No, not all.
Well, Bini is not a Malayali because he's a Bihari more than a Malayali.
Oriya.
Sorry.
Odia.
People who have left Kerala shores.
Sumati, you have anything to say? Sumati, you want to contribute something? Sumati does lovely rangolis. And that rangoli you showed of your 10th standard Seena was like phenomenal. Yeah. Amazing.
Back to her, I am in an elementary school stage.
Hello.
You have to have the grit to do it. I never got that grit to do anything, except maybe I've become a homemaker. How good a homemaker I am, I don't know.
The blocks are inside the head. It's your mind. It's your mind which stops. It's your mind which stops you. It's your mind which limits you.
Okay, so if there are no more comments, I think we'll get this wound down. Thank you, Seena. It was a lovely evening.
Thank you, everybody.
You took us through a fantastic evening. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Here I would like to comment one.
Yeah.
See, my husband was never exposed to art. I think till he was 74. That is still before this art club was started. He get introduced to all the art works and about art. He's learning. I don't know what
There's lots of books in your background. There are lots of books in your background.
Must be business books. Mr. Muthuraman was head of Tata Steel, MD of Tata Steel before he retired and came to live in our community. So, yeah.
There are also some art books. We have coffee table books with beautiful pictures and paintings. But I still wonder whether you have seen them.
I must tell you a comment that Sumti made to me when the presentation was going on. When Steve Jobs' name was uttered, she said, "Here is one person that you can recognize."
No, I didn't say that. But he had put a curtain in front of himself with art. Except that he will look at the painting. If I buy something, if I buy some article, then he will look at it and say, good. If it is not good, there is no comment. It's okay. But now I'm very happy he's getting introduced to all the art and culture of our country and outside country. I'm very glad that he is into this club.
Good, better late than never. Who was the person who asked me about R.D. Lang? I want to see that person.
Dave, can we see your video? Dave's video is off.
Can you hear me? Network is usually Dave is coming up.
You can hear him. The video is off, huh, Dave?
Yeah, I'm just trying to switch it on. I want to tell Seena that 30 years ago, I was flirting with a girl who was headed towards Nimhans, Bangalore. and she told me about R.D. Laing.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's
And?
how I was
Nothing
introduced
came
to.
out of it, Seena. He's still a bachelor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
is-
So that's
this
where
is
you
an out-
heard about R.D. Laing. So that girl must have meant something special for you to have remembered it so long, 30 years.
Oh, well, we both kind of enriched each other with various authors, I knew about and she didn't know, and vice versa. And
Okay.
we used to go on long walks and hill climbs and all that. So, yeah, a good friend. And
Okay.
so it was very enriching to learn about R.D. Laing and his,
Okay,
even if you.
then try watching the bio picture on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I think it's David
Because
Bennett. If I'm not wrong.
he was a deviant amongst the psychiatric community.
Just
And he was struck off the GMC register, the medical register, for his maverick practices.
right.
But he had a point, one single point, though he took it too far. So
What did you say was the name of the movie?
Mad to be normal.
Mad to me.
Mad to be known.
So that's what we are going to watch tonight.
I'm not saying it's a feel-good movie or anything, no way. But it's a bio picture on R.D. Laing, the anti-psychiatrist.
Where I am
Okay.
today, it is normal to be mad. So
All right. Good night, folks.
thank you, Shibu.
Thank you,
Hema.
Seena.
Thanks,
Thank
Seena.
you.
Thank you,
Nice,
Lovely
thanks a
evening.
lot. It was wonderful,
Thank
wonderful
you.
pictures.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Absolutely outstanding.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.